Hey, beautiful leaders, quick question. Have you ever found yourself sending 20 emails before 5:30 in the morning, or micromanaging a project all the way into the ground, or leading a meeting and physically seeing and feeling your team shut down and thinking, what the heck just happened? Well, here's the truth that nobody wants to tell you. You are not leading from your power. You are leading from your trauma response. And it's not just creating burnout inside of you, it is suffocating your team. Hi, guys. If you're new here, my name is Brooke Jean, and I'm the founder of Brooke Jean Unperfected. And we help high achieving women heal and release and let go of control, anxiety, and perfectionism so that they can access more energy, creativity, and vitality. And in this 10-minute video, I'm going to give you 3 ways to shift from survival managing into actual intentional leadership. So let me guess what's happening here. You're the type of leader who really struggles to delegate to your team because you have this belief that no one can do it just right. That's not high standards. That's your trauma response saying, I'm only safe if I control things. Or maybe you avoid the messy conversations and just kind of hope and pray that things get better. That's your nervous system choosing flight response versus leadership. And here's the truth. When you lead from a trauma response, that trauma response is a contagion for the rest of your team. You're going to put them on edge. Innovation will die. They will walk around on eggshells. They will provide excuses because they're more focused on not getting in trouble than actually being innovative and creating. So your nervous system and their nervous system doesn't know the difference between a missed deadline and a saber-toothed tiger. Okay. And so you might be finding yourself managing from fear instead of vision. And that's exactly what your trauma response is. So let's talk about the solution. I have 3 things that you can do immediately to shift this as a leader. The number 1 is the leadership reset. Before you step into a meeting, before you make a big decision, I want you to, well, when you start to feel that urgency rise in your body, and I know you know what that feeling is. When you start to feel that intensity and that urgency, instead of taking action, I actually want you to pause. I want you to place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. And I want you to take 3 deep belly breaths. And all that looks like is a deep inhale through the nose, holding at the top, and open mouth exhaling to release. You want to inhale so deeply that you feel your ribs expand, because here's the geeky neuroscience behind what's happening in your brain and body when you do that. When you deep belly breathe, you tickle the bottom of your vagus nerve. The vagus nerve sends a message to your brain that you are actually safe and everything is okay. Your brain and body will then excrete hormones that actually feel like you're safe. So just by pausing and taking a quick belly breath, you're going to get this neurobiological reaction that is going to help you get out of your survival mechanism. The other thing is, when we're dysregulated, that prefrontal cortex, the rational thinking part of your brain, goes offline. When you take a deep belly breath, that prefrontal cortex comes back online. We can get back into alignment with the truth of who you really are, and we can make leadership decisions and take action from a place of intentionality. So this isn't just woo-woo, guys. This is neuroscience. And of course, I always love to talk about the energetics of it. So number 2, I want you to name it to tame it. Okay. Instead of firing off 10 follow-up emails with ASAPs and exclamation marks and red booms, I want you to name and notice that urgency arising in your body. You meet it with compassion and you ask yourself, is this actually that urgent? Yes or no? And am I actually leading from my wisdom or my wounding? Or you can say, is it really that urgent? Or is that just a story that I'm telling myself? See, your trauma response is going to tell you the story all day long that it's not enough, that we need to go faster, harder, better, perfect, all of the things. And those thoughts, those narratives, those stories release hormones that make you feel anxious, that make you control and act outside of your highest and best self. And so, what I'm asking you to do is to number one, do the leadership reset and pause and breathe. And then number two, check in and ask yourself, is this an appropriate response? Is it really that urgent? Because here's the secret, my friends. Inside an organization and a team, if everything's an ASAP, then nothing is actually an ASAP. And all you're doing is projecting your controlling energy, your anxiety, your trauma response onto your team. And you are quite literally putting them into a cognitive freeze, a cognitive shutdown, where we slow down productivity. We can no longer access creativity and forget about innovation because now people are just sitting and spinning, absolutely wasting their time, energy, and sanity. And so here's something revolutionary. I want you to begin to own this in front of your team. I want you to do leadership resets. I want you to pause. I want you to take a breath. I want you to ask different questions because I think it's so important that we're showing our teams that you can be human and professional. So I see a lot of people that are falling on one end of the scale or the other. We're either so human that we're not like actually getting things done, or we're so professional that we're pretending we're not human. There is a way to be both. It just needs to be navigated mindfully and skillfully. So, step number three, create space instead of pressure. Pressure, which is a thing that we often project when we're in a trauma response, contracts ourselves and everyone around us. Whereas spaciousness opens us up to expand. And so instead of asking your questions, instead of asking your team questions like, why isn't this done? I would rather you ask, what do you need in order to complete this task? What do you need to push this down the line? That's a completely different frequency, and your team's nervous system will absolutely feel that way. When you lead from a place of curiosity and compassion instead of control, you watch, your team will start to open up. They'll bring ideas, they'll bring solutions because you're building psychological safety. You guys are going to hear me talk about this a lot. If you want to actually foster creativity and innovation inside your business, on your team, in your family system, you have got to learn how to create psychological safety. And everything I teach is a way for you to first create that inside yourself to be able to then go and create that amongst your team. But when you do, so many beautiful things are going to start to unfold. Let me share a little story with you. I have a client who was just really suffering with anxiety and perfectionism, and was living her life in a trauma response, a state of hypervigilance, a state of hyper independence, such that she was having panic attacks constantly, constantly. And she was not just micromanaging things at work, she was micromanaging her partner, her children, her family, her personal life, vacations. I mean, there wasn't a space in her life where she could lean back and exhale. And so her body began to give her clues that this way of functioning is not healthy and supportive of long term success in the format of panic attacks. And so she came to me. And after just 3 months of this inner work, she started to create space between trigger and response. She started to be able to articulate herself in a more effective way because she was present. She started improving her relationships at home and with her children. And literally within 90 days, her team's productivity had increased by 40%. And while that is a fun and fancy statistic, what I was even more excited about was the way that her people were beginning to feel around her and the way that that helped her feel about herself. You cannot put a digit and a price tag on that. So here's what I want you to understand, my love. Your trauma response is not your fault. It is quite literally an automatic, unconscious survival mechanism, but your healing of it is your responsibility, especially if you're a parent, a leader, which parents and leaders are, parenting is leadership, right? And so this is our work to do. As leaders, we have a duty to heal the parts of us that show up in the way of control and anything extreme and pressure and perfectionism, right? And so I want to give you something tangible that you can take with you and start to implement into your world today for the next week going forward. Before you go into the meeting, before you go into the conversation, before you go into the presentation, before you make any big decisions, I want you to pause and do 90 seconds of belly breathing. And I want you to ask yourself, am I acting from my woundedness, which is your trauma response, or my wisdom, which is your higher self, what I call the inner CEO inside of my brand? And so I hope that that technique serves you. Do it consistently for a week and see how you feel at the end of the week. I would love if you watch this video, if you would leave in the comments the progress that you're making, the things that you're working on. If you would like to go deeper inside this work, I have a podcast on all streaming platforms called The Unperfected Pod, and I have a private membership on vidme.io. So come visit me there and take care of yourselves and therefore each other.